Welcome to Car Sales Talk 101, where it's all about life in the car business. Telling you like it is. Here's the man with the plan, Terry Cameron. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Car Sales Talk 101. I'm Terry Cameron. Thanks for hanging out again with me for this episode, which just happens to be episode number 188, The Road to the Sale Detours. I guess before we get into these detours, we should talk a little bit about the road to the sale. We should be clear on what I mean by the road to the sale. Now, this road to the sale is probably the same road to the sale or steps to the sale, whatever you want to call it, that's been out there for decades. And there's a reason it's out there, and it's because it works. We can't just go out there and wing it. Well, I guess we can. We can go out there and wing it. We're just not going to get the results that we want as much or as many times as we want. So the traditional road to the sale, at least in my opinion, either starts with the meet and greet on the lot or maybe sometimes even on the phone. We'll call this step one. And step one really in this meet and greet is getting that first impression. And I'm sure you've all heard that. The first impression lasts a lifetime. So it's got to be a good one. No cussing, spitting, sitting out there on the stoop, smoking a cigarette, waiting for the customer to walk up to you and greet you. We don't want to do that. We want to set a real good, professional first impression. That is probably the most important part of the entire process, is getting them to like you. And if you started off with a bad first impression, good luck getting any further. So we'll call that again step one, and that's the meet and greet. Step two is kind of natural, as long as step one was a pleasant encounter. Step two is you got to get them to like you. I call it the get to like me stage or rapport building. So we want to talk about getting the customer to like us. Statistics say that 71% of the customers bought their car from you because they liked you. 71% also said they didn't buy a car from you even if you had the vehicle that they wanted because they didn't like you. It's real important for somebody to like you, especially if they're going to be spending $10, $15, $20, $50, $100,000 with you. And like I said before, you don't have to like the guy over at Cefco or 7-Eleven or the convenience store that's selling you a pack of cigarettes or a Snickers bar. But you know what? As soon as you walk in those stores, they're the first ones to greet you and welcome you to their store. Man, if they can do that at a $10, $15 an hour job, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with making $10 or $15 an hour if you're okay with that. But if they can do that, you sure can do it when you can make six figures. So you got to get them to like you. 71%, that's a big, big number. So start talking to them, get them to like you. Don't be phony. Just have a natural conversation with them. Ask them some questions. That's going to lead you into step three. And step three is kind of the investigation, or what I like to call gathering bullets. And these are bullets that can be used at a later time in the process. You have to talk about their wants and needs, who the main drivers are, why are they considering this purchase, why are they out there looking for a car. They're just not coming out there to buy a car for any old reason. They have a need and they need to get it taken care of. Now you have a chance to help them and get paid for doing it. So you need to ask them. It doesn't make sense to go talk to somebody about horsepower when they're really considering buying a vehicle for maybe their young daughter or somebody, and safety is probably more important. Find out their hot buttons. Gather these bullets and use them whenever you're doing the next step, which is your presentation. Now, there are some salespeople out there that are really good product presentation people. And a product presentation person just talks about everything about the car. They know from the front to back, top to bottom, everything about that vehicle. And that's what they talk about. Now, that usually takes a long time. And after a little while, it starts to get a little boring with that customer. So we don't need to do a product presentation. We need to do a feature advantage presentation based on what we found out in the previous step, gathering those bullets. Talk about the things that are really important to them. Now, step 5, and some people call step 5 really the same part of step 4, is your demonstration drive. This is where the customer takes total mental ownership of the vehicle. They can see themselves driving this to work, on vacation, down the street, to the grocery store, washing it out in their driveway. They can see that. And you've got to be there with them as they're taking mental ownership. They're going to talk about how they enjoy the car. Yeah, sometimes they may say, hey, what's that noise? There may be something they don't like about it. But either way, you need to be there so you know about it. So at the very end, you know how to close on it. You have to be there with the customer on the demonstration drive. I mean, how do you demonstrate it if you're not there? 80% of the selling is done in those step 4 and 5, the presentation and demonstration of the vehicle. So you've got to really hone your skills, especially on those steps, because 80% is a big deal. There's another statistic out there, the statistic that is out there that says 50% of the customers bought on the spot if they got what they thought was a good presentation and demonstration. If you really want to learn how to do a good presentation demonstration, invite a Kirby vacuum clean salesperson into your house. They'll show you the presentation that they'll do on that $1,500 vacuum cleaner is better than most of us on a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 vehicle. Now, you got to keep in mind that in order to be successful in this process, you have to complete each step. So you're not going to have a whole lot of luck getting to step 2, rapport building, if step 1 in the meet and greet, if they don't really like you. Remember, they come in with their dukes up. The only thing they don't want to deal with is a smart-ass salesperson. So you got to be a professional. And if you can complete these steps in the order that we just talked about and do them professionally, you have a really good chance of making a sale. Okay? Now, step 6. This is probably the easiest step that there is, and that's completing the paperwork, the final close. Right? You have to talk about how you closed while doing the demo drive. And what I mean by that is when they're saying, hey, this is really comfortable. I like these seats, this air-conditioned seats, all the high-tech, the navigation, how comfortable they are, how comfortable the kids are going to be when they're going to grandma's house in the back. You got to remember all that stuff because you're going to start closing as you're coming back to the dealership. And one of my favorite closes that works really, really good is the sold line close. And what I mean by that is as you're pulling on the lot, you tell the customer, you know what? I think you found the right vehicle. I want you to point at a place where you want them to park and call it the sold line. It goes something like this. Guys, it sounds to me like we found the right vehicle. So if you don't mind, pull right over there. That's the sold line. And that's where I park all of my sold cars. Now, that's where I park all of my sold cars is really important. If you don't add that, then it's just a place to park. And if they pulled over there after you tell them that, it looks to me like they decided to buy the car. Now, let's talk about the detours. Okay? The detours are, instead of the meet and greet on the lot, that meet and greet is on the phone. There's a lot of people that call the dealership first. And it's just like any other business you call. That first impression that you get with that person on the other end of the line, whether you can understand them or if they're rude, if they're giggling, because right now we have a lot of people working from home and you don't quite get the professional service that you would if they were in an office environment. So you got to be careful on that meet and greet, that phone call. Okay, the first impression on that phone call is now introduced through your tone and your eagerness to help. Customers can hear a smile on your face and they can tell when you seem to be bothered by their intrusion into your HGTV watching time. Remember to spell check all text and emails to the customer, both with your CRM tools and by you reading them before you hit the send button. Because the other detour that you take is becoming more and more popular, and that's the internet lead. The customers that are coming through to your CRM based on things that they found on different sites, Car Gurus, Cars.com, Dealer Car Search, and your own website. And there's many, many others. So really, you need to pay attention to how you respond to those internet leads. You got to make sure that you capitalize the first word of a sentence. Now, I'm telling you this because I see this every day. And when I look at some of these emails and texts that are going out, it's almost like a first grader is sending them. Tough to have a good first impression if your emails are not professionally done. Make sure you capitalize the proper names and nouns. Capitalize the majority of the titles. Capitalize events and periods. Capitalize I as a pronoun. Capitalize any locations and direct addresses. And capitalize family relationships. Okay, any solicitation that I receive with improper capitalization, I equate with a possible scam, spam, or less than professional solicitor, and I don't respond. So what do you think they're going to do? Okay, the next detour is when the customer bears his or her soul to you about their financial situation. I'm not talking about pre-qualifying them as soon as you shake their hands. They let you know about their situation. If they decide to tell you about their recent repo and their sub 500 credit score, as well as not being able to put a down payment on the car, we might want to detour to our desk. Everybody is a buyer sometime, so we don't just want to kick them to the curb. But at the same time, we don't want to spend the better part of a couple hours working with someone that has little chance of getting approved. Make sure you check with management about how you proceed, but chances are the next step may be gathering credit information in the form of a credit application. Make sure you follow your management's guidelines on what to do in this detour and what your next step should be. And what else? We have detour number 3. When the vehicle or model they want is not in stock. New car dealers are having this issue on a regular basis nowadays. I can't tell you how many commercials I've seen that talk about ordering a new car or putting your name on the waiting list. It's kind of hard to do a proper presentation or demo drive without having the model they want. But if they're willing to put their name on an incoming or ordered unit, they have to be willing to prove their creditworthiness. Again, check with your management on how to proceed. I would imagine they'd want you to fill in an application and submit it, or at least get a sizable deposit, preferably a non-refundable deposit, to take that unit off the market. This detour, however, will require you to complete the presentation and demonstration prior to contracting and taking delivery, if for no other reason than to satisfy the manufacturer's delivery process. I imagine there may be other reasons to take detours on the road to sale, but not too many, and we need to make sure we don't make up any just to shorten the trip down the road to the sale. Let's not skip steps. Let's not pre-qualify. Let's just do a really good job, especially after all this COVID junk and now that the car business is sort of getting back to normal. I know the chip shortage. I know gas prices and prices of used cars, new cars are all going up, but it's getting back to normal. And if you've been in this business any amount of time, you've already been through this before. We always come out smelling like a rose as long as we maintain our professionalism. Okay, so remember, follow the road to the sale because it's there for a reason. Take the detours if you need to, but the most important thing is do it professionally and make sure you get your management's permission. Remember, the sky's the limit. I'll see you in a few weeks.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please rate it and write a review on Apple Podcast. We appreciate your valuable feedback. You can email Terry at 10minutesalestalk@hot.rr.com. And don't forget to share the show with a friend.